There's a lot of different martial arts out there. How many of them should you study? Hey, what's up? I'm Ken, this is kenfuTV, and you're watching Ken Learns Kenfu, the part where I spend my time reflecting and thinking about the martial arts as I continue to train. Today we're talking about cross-training. But before we do that, if you're new here, be sure to subscribe, hit that bell, turn on all notifications, because some of the videos that I put out, the technique, the training, that kind of stuff, less consistent on when it comes out, so you want to get those notifications. That said, let's jump into it. So should you study more than one martial art? That's the question, isn't it? If you're watching this, you're probably already studying at least one, but maybe you're not. Maybe you're watching some of these videos to kind of figure out what you want to do and the direction you want to go. And if you've been watching for some time, you know that personally I practice multiple, 3 primarily, and then some additional auxiliary martial arts that I train when I have opportunity. But that said, I truly feel like you need a foundation. If I'm honest, through my training, I tried to study different things early on. Tried to kind of mix up and do different things. And what I found is that it was difficult. And it wasn't difficult just because it was hard. It was difficult because different instructors in different arts were looking for different things from me. So while I'd work really hard to build one habit, I'd go to the next instructor and he'd be working really hard to unbuild that habit to give me a different one. And that is obviously conflicting. It's difficult for the instructor, I think, especially now as an instructor, I see how difficult it is to have someone come in who's got a lot of habits that you're trying to break and trying to work with, trying to create something new. Now, the longer I train, the more I'm able to recognize those habits and kind of coax them into what I need them to be. I think that there's a skill that comes with experience that helps you see how to apply somebody's existing habits. But not everybody's going to be good at that. Here's what I think. I believe that the martial arts, one of the greatest gifts that it will ever give you, is the understanding of your body. How to move it, how to make it work to your commands exactly as you intend, how to move with precision and grace and fluidity that you didn't have before. And I find that that's the case in a lot of physical arts, right? Dance is no different. There's a lot of different things that have that kind of same component. The more you come to understand your body, the more you're able to effortlessly perform that function. So how does all that apply to the martial arts and cross-training? It applies to the fact that I think you need a foundation. And what is a foundation? A foundation, specifically in this case, is referring to the idea that you need to spend enough time training in one thing to actually get past that curve of understanding how to move your body, how to make it do the things that you want it to do, understand the limits of its mobility, its flexibility, how to improve those. But at the end of the day, I feel like you're going to gain more by having a concentrated effort spent on getting really good at something rather than okay at a lot of things. If they conflict, if the things that you're doing conflict with each other, it's going to be difficult. You're going to want to move a certain way. So the two that I started with Okinawan Karate, and truly the next one was Kali Eskrima, but that was somewhat short-lived because the group I was training with, they took hiatuses during the summer when people went out to the lake, different stuff, and so they weren't getting together, so that kind of ran its own course anyway. So the second one that I tried to actually spend time with an instructor and work hard on was Aikido. And maybe specifically, that's a difficult one to do anyway. It's a very different type of movement. It's very based in the idea of yielding movement and then embracing that. Whereas the karate was a lot more in your face. Somebody once said to my karate instructor, he said, "You guys are doing what we're doing," referring to the Aikido. You just get straight to the point. And so that's a very fundamental difference to yield and bend and move, to absorb that energy and redirect it versus seizing it and making it what you want and employing a lot of striking along the way. It was very different. So the way that I moved in each class, the Aikido could have really helped my karate. But my karate was making the Aikido very difficult. At one point, somebody had told me, get a black belt in something and then go train Aikido. And I can see where they're coming from now. So I trained for a little while, and then pretty soon I stopped. And I continued to focus on the karate. After I did achieve my black belt, I did end up going back 'Cause I'm still good friends with the Aikido instructor, and I did train, and it was a lot easier. And it wasn't easier because I was some black belt, some magical thing. No, I believe that the black belt itself really is just saying, hey, you've made it, you've graduated high school now, you've done all the preliminary stuff, and now you have the prerequisites that you need to start actually focusing on building greater skill and deploying better things. And you can truly come to understand technique and kind of what's going on here, because a lot of this other stuff's just out of your way. That's what I believe the black belt is. A lot of people see that as the end. And really, it's the beginning. It's getting through your grade school so that you can start actually diving into what you want to be good at. So I did not stop training karate, but I did go spend some evenings doing Aikido. And the Aikido that I did came a lot more naturally. The movement became a lot easier, and I was able to make smaller adjustments off of what the instructor was telling me to do because I had spent so much time trying to get used to my body. When he said, hey, I need you to do this more, I need you to open your hips, I need you to do this or that, I knew how to do those things. I'd spent time doing those things. So I knew that, yeah, my body can do that. I just need to do this, which will always be better because an instructor can't tell you how to do what you need to do. They can tell you what it needs to do. They can tell you the general idea of what your body should do while you do it. But at the end of the day, it's you doing it, and you have to adapt it to your body. Something I say a lot in classes is I'm not teaching you. I'm not here to be your teacher. I'm guiding you because you're taking what I'm giving you and you're teaching it to yourself. You have to apply it to yourself. And I believe that. That's my belief. My belief is that everything has to pass through the filter of getting into you. You can be guided, you can be refined. People can say, okay, that was good, make this adjustment. And those are the same things that I do. But at the end of the day, it's the time spent in your own head, working with your own body, that gets you where you're going. That's when you learn. And you have to go through that. You have to be in situations where you can create your own assessments of what's going on. Really difficult right now with the COVID-19 thing, keeping us socially distanced, so we're not having the contact stuff that we're having right now. So lots of solo training, I think that's really, really good, but there's a lot of learning that comes from sparring and applying technique and working with resistance that helps you find what it feels like and when things work and when things don't work and the adjustments you have to make and the small changes that you feel and understand that someone can't just go, oh, you just need to do that. There are always parts of that have to come from you. You've got to spend time developing your body and your understanding of your body. Now, one way that I think that you can cross-train a little bit easier, maybe, but it's still not easy. So, for example, I teach karate, eskrima, and jiu-jitsu. I teach them regularly, and I have students that do all three or a combination of them or just an individual one. I truly believe the people that are focusing on an individual one tend to push faster. But the benefit of the ones that are training in multiple things under me is that I'm their instructor in each thing. So I'm guiding them the same direction. I can help move them the way they're supposed to go. And I've picked arts that complement what I do. And truly, you're learning from your instructor, right? There are different arts out there and you pick an art, but at the end of the day, you pick your instructor because that person has what you're looking for. They either move the way you want to move, they know things that you want to know, they do things the way you want to do them, they have a character that you want to develop. Something about your instructor spoke to you and said, this is the person that I want to train with. So at the end of the day, you're vaguely learning a style from them. You're mostly learning from them. I don't teach like my instructor. I don't move like my instructor. He's a lot bigger than me, a hell of a lot stronger than me. The things that he does them in a different way that I won't ever be able to do. I don't have the frame for it. I don't have the muscle structure for it. I don't have the years of training that he had on his body. I didn't do a lot of physical conditioning growing up, so I've wasted a lot of time. It would take me a lot of time to get to that point, which meanwhile, he grew that over experience, his training and his conditioning at the same time. He was an athlete. He has different background than I have. So where I come from is going to be different. We're different people. There is absolutely nothing wrong with that. You learn from your instructor. There are parts of him that I will always contain. There are ways that I move or things that I do that people will always pick up that he was my instructor. Now I have other instructors too. And so there are parts of each of them in the way that I move. So there is only one me, right? That's why this even became called kenfuTV. That's my style, kenfu, jokingly. I don't believe that style's even a thing that you should be after. You should be after the result, the function of it, how it works, and the knowledge that you're trying to gain. That's really important. So when I joke and call it kenfu, I'm not going out there saying I'm going to go start some kenfu style that you sign up for. You want to learn from me? Great. We won't call it kenfu. In joking, we might. Thinking about making some shirts and kenfu that say something like "I do kenfu" or "I know kenfu," referencing the Matrix or something. I don't know, but it'd all be in fun because I think that at the end of the day, you learn from your instructor. You will move the way they move because monkey see, monkey do, as I heard often in the dojo. The more time you spend with somebody, the more you reference that. Something that I personally find, especially as a visual learner, is that the longer I watch a particular thing on like YouTube or something like that, if I'm watching a specific person for a long time or reviewing different kinds of video, I'll behave more like that. I'll move more that way. I'll even speak more that way. And it's just that natural thing of it starts to influence who you are and the way you do things. So you have to be selective. You have to choose the people that you want to see that because everybody has that influence on you. So when you're choosing your instructors for your cross training and even just reviewing video and other material, it's influencing you, right? So choose the right stuff. If something doesn't feel right about it, be like, I'll keep watching it. Maybe don't. Go find something that you're like, yeah, I like what's happening here, and then watch that, even if it's just passive, because passively it's influencing you, and it's going to become a part of you, whether you like it or not. It will be in there somewhere. So spend time curating the right people that you want to get something from. I think that's a huge deal. So there are people, and maybe at some point I'll make a video kind of talking about the people that I like to get influence from. Because I do think there's something really strong about who you choose. And you've got to kind of curate that. And I've done that for myself, and I continue to do it because you run into new people, new influences, and you've got to decide, is this one that I want to keep and kind of go with? And same thing when you go train with somebody. When you get an opportunity to work with another instructor or to start taking an entirely new class and continue that training on, you're going to choose your instructor. That's what it comes down to. But back to the idea, if someone does train with me and they train in multiple of the arts or all three of the arts, they're going to have a much more cohesive thing because me, the person who knows what I know and moves the way I move, is the one giving it to them. They're seeing the same source. So while I might move differently, I can only move so different because all of these are a part of who I am. And especially, I teach them back to back. They have a blend, right? I keep them separate so that the culture, the history, and the language are all contained individually. And I'll even change uniforms or different things between classes to kind of help flip that switch because I think separating those things helps you get a better picture of them individually and then blend them together on your own the way you feel is appropriate. So these students are getting the knowledge from me directly in a way that's cohesive because of the fact that it's all a part of one person. So that's one way to cross-train. It still might not be advisable. I still see a slowdown in people's progress because they're trying to accomplish a lot of different things. They're trying to learn to move different ways when they haven't figured out how to move one way well yet. So I still think there's a benefit. Now, I still enjoy it when people choose to train multiple things with me. That excites me. I get excited. But I have to kind of augment that training for them to kind of keep them at speed because otherwise it's just too difficult until you have that foundation. Now, all of this is to say you should cross-train. You should absolutely cross-train. It's really important that you expose yourself to different things. One of the arts I do, the Eskrima art that I do, one of the maestros that I trained with, one time we did a session in Vegas and he had specifically went through things that were not part of our art just so that we were exposed to them. So we knew how other people moved, so that we had reference points so that It taught us how to apply our art to people that don't move like us. One thing that I think happens all too frequently is people training with themselves, each other, so frequently, so long, that they only are good at dealing with each other. And you introduce somebody that moves differently or knows something different, and they just don't know what to do. That's one of the things that I struggle with competition. You're training yourself to be really, really, really good at dealing with people like you in a rule set that's very specific to what you're trying to do. So you've conformed to a rule set, and you've gotten really good at fighting other people who conform to the same rule set. I think it's important that you expose yourself to a lot, because only through doing that do you get to hone and understand how what you do applies and the things that you might have to change. And when you do that, when you spend time changing and adapting, you also become better at it. You can do it faster. You can make adjustments and slip from thing to thing quicker because you were exposed to it. You have the experience of doing it. So even if you just go to some open sparring sessions, or you do some seminars every now and again, or you have the opportunity to spend time training consistently in private lessons, or grabbing another class if you've got time, I do think that's really important, and I do think that it will help a lot. I just also think that you should have a good foundation under you first. You don't have to, but it helps. So that's it. What do you think? Do you cross-train now? Have you been thinking about cross-training, and what combinations are you putting together? Put those in the comments. Did you build a foundation first before you started cross-training? Hit that down below. In the meantime, if you like this video, make sure to hit that like. I make videos like this every Monday. Go ahead and hit up here if you want to subscribe. I hope you do. Hit over here for a playlist of videos like these, and then down below, a couple other videos that you might like. That's it for today. Catch you in the next one.